Hello, everyone. My name is Ashleigh Matos. Hopefully, we've spoken before. If we have not, it's nice to meet you guys. I am one of the WhoFi partner advocates here at WhoFi. I have been since, 2020, so it's been over 5 years. So, a lot of things have changed in WhoFi. So, if you've been a long-term partner, I'm excited to show you guys a lot of the new features and services. So thank you guys for joining the webinar. Welcome. I hope you guys get a chance to learn what you were hoping to learn as you joined. Um, I've got my colleague Paige on the call. She will be monitoring the chat and answering those questions for me. If there's anything that Paige can't answer, then I'll give a second to kind of answer some questions in between switching of services. If you can't log into your WhoFi.com account, please let us know. I know Paige and the service team would be happy to help you guys get logged into your account so you can follow along. You don't have to follow along. You're welcome to just sit back and watch as well. When you guys had first registered for the webinar, we had asked you guys a handful of questions about your WhoFi proficiency and what you were hoping to get out of, as well as your challenges and your goals for this webinar. And I really appreciate you guys writing those out for us. It really helps me make sure that I tailor the webinar towards what you guys are hoping to get out of it. So during our time here today, I look forward to reviewing some of those potential solutions for you guys and to help meet those challenges through the use of the WhoFi suite of services. So we will begin with our product question sets, and according to our agenda, we will go into community calendar after question sets. We will review spaces, which used to be called meeting rooms. And then near the end, I'll cover a handful of product updates as of late and some upcoming pilots that you guys are welcome to join if you would be interested in doing so. So libraries had let us know a number of processes that brought stress or anxiety to your guys' jobs, such as the state annual survey, board reports, board meetings, Excel spreadsheets, and quite a bit more. As we had launched the community calendar to libraries, they had thanked us for standardizing and simplifying the reporting process involved in both the wireless sessions and programming and attendance areas, followed by something like, if only we could keep track of all of our statistics in the WhoFi service, or if you had a service offering for everything that we do, that would be really ideal. So if only the WhoFi service could do a little bit more than they were looking for. We had explored this sentiment with libraries and learned more about the challenges surrounding data collection, organization, visualization, shareability of the data, and reporting of all of the various library data elements for your boards, local government, advocacy, and the state annual survey. That said, as many of you guys know, this is something that is completed on a daily, weekly, monthly, and an annual basis, just as part of being a library. As we continue to explore this topic, libraries and states had reviewed some pain points with us in detail, including, but definitely not limited to, the information that they kept is all over the place, and it can be really hard to remember where or who keeps the information. We spend so much time collecting the data that we have little time left to use the data to affect any change among the library. My staff is not Excel savvy, and often enough, a staff member might accidentally delete a formula in the Excel spreadsheet, and that can cause some issues. You might have one keeper of the Excel spreadsheet, and everybody sends that person all of the data, and it can be hard to train somebody to help when they are out or when they are on leave. It takes too much time to be able to access the data. Our boards want us to spend less time collecting the data, but they still want to have the insights. As a result of these conversations, we were asked if we would explore a solution to these issues, and we said yes. The question sets feature, which is patent pending, was born out of the numerous conversations and pilot feedback from our public libraries. The solution's goal is to reduce the many burdens that states and libraries encounter throughout the data collection, organization, visualization, analysis, and reporting that takes place on a daily, weekly, monthly, and annual basis. So let's dive into question sets to see if it is the right cure for your reporting headaches. Oh, that's a sneak peek. One slide too far. So I'm going to slide this over. When you first log into your WhoFi.com account, if you haven't logged in recently, you'll see a brand new dashboard for your account. This was one of our most recent product updates. You'll see a menu for your upcoming programs and bookings, and some nice notices over here on the right in case you need to take action. Thought I would point that out. On the left-hand side of your WhoFi account, you'll see your current suite of services, including Wi-Fi Analytics, Community Calendar, Spaces, and right here is question sets. In this dropdown, we will see three options: all questions, which is where you'll enter the data, on-demand reports, and board reports. So let's start in all questions. Here in your account, you will most likely already see a pre-built question set. And that pre-built question set has a copy of all the questions found on your state's annual survey. You can also see who created the question set and who it is being shared with, as well as the reporting cycle and available years for you to enter your data for. So let's click into your question set. And if we open the daily tracker over here at the left, we will see many questions and categories that have broken out into different categories across the top, such as services right here. And when you are in here, we can find questions that are relevant to your library's routine, such as total reference transactions, library visits, computer usage. Those are hand tally events most likely at your library. So you can come in here and enter in the totals for each of those days. And we'll see over here on the right, it automatically saves it for you as well as provides you with a monthly total. Those monthly totals will then carry over into the monthly tracker. So if we open up the monthly tracker, we will then see very similar categories. You might see even more categories because you'll have different elements that can be tracked on a daily or monthly basis. And if we
Ashleigh,
open up under the monthly totals, yep, we'll see services. And where we had typed in data earlier under reference transactions, you'll see those totals here. And if you instead have monthly totals, you can type them in here as well. So if you have your number for September, you type it in, it automatically saves, and you'll get your monthly totals over here on the right. As you might expect, your monthly totals will also carry forward into your annual tracker. So if we open up annual, and then open up services, you'll see all of those beautiful totals over here on the left, which will be very helpful in answering those questions on your state annual survey. Please keep in mind that if you do not already keep track of this information on a daily or monthly basis, that is all right. We're not asking you to do extra work. You are welcome to use questions or skip them as you learn to adopt this into your processes. You can instead just answer the questions on a monthly basis if that's what you're already doing. We're not adding more to your plate. We only want to help ease those burdens. We've enhanced the system with several user-friendly capabilities based off feedback from libraries and state data coordinators. So let's take a look at a few of those right now. I've mentioned a few times that this auto saves. There's no saving button, so you can enter in your inputs for a seamless experience. You'll notice on the right-hand side a column for logs. And over here, we are able to track who made changes to your question set's entries, which will be useful for anomaly detection. We can come in here and click on log. And in here, we will be able to see the user and any of the old values and what the new values will be for now. I'm getting feedback from someone, so I might mute them if that is okay. There we go. Awesome. Sorry about that. If you were trying to talk, we will use the chat if that would be helpful. Awesome. Oh, I almost clicked on the wrong button. Yes, so we just covered the logs. Some of your questions will have a pre-loaded formula into your question set. We can see an example of those under library circulation. We'll see a total right here. And those formulas are added to help sum up some of those entries and help reduce errors, which will help simplify data entry. Some of these questions will actually provide you with some tooltips. These on field definitions and reminders help staff understand what to count and enter, especially for new team members. And you're even welcome to add your own tooltips and enter your own instructions if you need some help providing exact directions for your staff to enter the data. You can type out, we go to this website, we download this report, we go to page number 2, and this is the number you're looking for. You can type out all of those instructions. Edit checks are a dedicated space for notes on potentially anomalous numbers, providing quick explanations for post-submission inquiries. We'll see an example of an edit check right here. You'll be able to add this little sticky note right here and be able to review those answers as those are entered by your staff. Lastly, multiple staff members can log in and access and contribute to the data collection, and multi-branch libraries can easily manage and total the data for all of your locations. So you're welcome to utilize that feature. Once we rolled out question sets, we began hearing additional feedback and challenges that libraries thought would make the service even more approachable by libraries. Some libraries let us know of the need for assigning questions and categories to their staff. That way, when they log in, they don't get overwhelmed by the amount of options to enter in the data. Directors can create a view of specific questions and then assign that view to their users. This will help ease the data entry per person and avoid any potential human mistakes. We also heard from some libraries that seeing all of these blank fields to enter looked really daunting to some. They asked that the information that we were already collecting be magically transported over into question sets to help give them a head start in filling it out. This reduced the work that libraries had to do and reduced the opportunity for error in the transposition of numbers. So, what does this mean for you? If your library is collecting wireless sessions through Wi Fi analytics and you are using, or you can do either one, and you're using the community calendar to keep track of programs and attendance, overnight, all of those numbers are going to be syncing into the appropriate areas on your question sets. So, for example, under library programs, over time, your account can look like this. All of the answers and programs that you're creating in the community calendar, and you add their attendance, all the answers will sync into question sets, into the appropriate questions. Lastly, we also started to hear that it would be really nice to not leave behind previously collected data, and with that, the import project began. At a library level, you will be able to import data from sources like your ILS, ILL, and more. Your WhoFi service team, including Paige and myself, would be happy to aid you in these imports. Lastly, we made it, oh, I already said lastly. We made it very easy to copy years to duplicate the annual survey, and this will keep all of your tooltips and library instructions for preceding years. From the pilots of question sets, libraries wanted an easy way to run queries based on question sets. A very simple report or a chart that shows all of your categories and fields in a visual manner. So on the left-hand side under question sets, we have two other areas over here called on-demand reports and reports. So let's take a look at both of these. Under on-demand reports, you'll have an area over here to be able to generate reports. And I have an example already to show you guys. Here we go. So you're able to get really quick graphs such as this. You're able to change the timeline that you're looking at and even the question that you want a graph for. And then you can insert this into maybe a PowerPoint or a different report for your meetings. Next, many let us know that it would be nice to have at-a-glance reports for this service, similar to the ones that we offer for Wi-Fi and Community Calendar. We asked for which statistics, and they said, well, all of them. From these discussions, a report builder was added and placed right inside the service to further reduce the amount of time that you have to spend putting them together for your boards. It is over here under question sets. Let's actually go to the other one. Question sets, board reports. This is where we can create and save board report templates that can be ran at your convenience and changed on demand. I went ahead and created one for us. So after you have built and designed a report, we can choose to generate. And I want to show you the end goal before I show you how to design one. And you can expect to produce similar reports to this one. You can have up to 16 questions on a report. You get to pick the questions and the icons. And as your staff members are entering in the data, this will be available for you at a button's click for you to generate those reports and print them off. So I can show you real fast what that design screen looks like for this board report. If we go to design the report, over here on the left, you'll see an example of the report that you're building, and you'll be able to pick the questions from the dropdown and even provide a nickname in case the question might be too long. And then you're also able to pick those icons as needed. Additionally, throughout conversations with public libraries across the country, we came to understand that libraries in some cases collected more detailed or alternative information outside of their state annual surveys. In order to help them, we added the ability to create additional question sets that can tie to the current one or not, depending on the question and the purpose. This information was typically being used for specific board or local governmental use, and we were happy to accommodate. WhoFi will typically set up a one-to-one phone call with the libraries that have this need. We will come in here and add a question set, maybe reference some of your spreadsheets or reports that you're using, and we can add those questions into question sets and even import that data for you guys. This has been seen as a really nice offering for those libraries who have that need. Awesome. So that's everything that I have to cover over question sets. Paige, are there any questions in the chat that I need to help answer?
I don't believe so. Sheila just had mentioned that their fiscal year starts in July, and if it was possible to edit their annual report
Gotcha.
for it
Great
to
question.
start. Yep.
Okay, yeah, I might have to look at that one individually. Sheila, I'm sorry you're having so many troubles with question sets already. It might have been a setup difference, so we can take care of that after the webinar.
Hmm.
If your library, this is for anybody, if your library doesn't have access to question sets, we can help with that. If you don't have a state annual survey built into your question sets, typically what that process looks like would be we would ask your library to share a copy of your state annual survey as like a PDF or some copyable format, and then we would build that for you guys inside of your account. So it's really libraries helping libraries here when we build those out.
For
Does
sure.
that answer a few of the topics happening in the chat?
Yeah, I'm also keeping a list of those libraries that don't have anything
Okay.
in the question sets as well. So if there are any other libraries that are experiencing the same thing, please reach out, and then I can get you added on this list.
Yeah, of course. We'd be happy to receive that PDF from you guys and get that created for you guys. Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome. I'm glad we are figuring that out. Okay, so up next, if there's no more questions on question sets, we will transition over into the community calendar. Sorry, I have this as an example for you to look forward to as you're using the community calendar and question sets. You'd have a fully completed question set, but I had a different example, so sorry about that. Awesome. The community calendar. How does the community calendar get the data into question sets? That was a topic that I had mentioned earlier. The data is syncing into your different question sets areas. And how can we enter programs and attendance? I will go through community calendar probably faster than normal simply because the answers that I had received from our registrations were more interested in question sets and spaces than there was interest in in community calendar. There's a lot to cover in community calendar, and there's a lot of tutorials on YouTube as well. So if there's anything that we didn't cover, just let us know. So back into our WhoFi account, the community calendar came out of information from libraries letting us know that there were, gosh, 50, 60 different questions about programming on the state annual survey. And there was a burden around at the end of the year trying to wrangle all of your data into sorting all of those answers into the state annual survey. There are other challenges about making sure that you're able to advertise your programs to your patrons, receive effective registrations from your patrons, and more challenges in that area for getting the calendar on the website, there were quite a few things that we were able to help libraries with. So the community calendar, in short, helps to reduce the burden of planning for your programs and keeping track of the data of your programs. So on the left-hand side in your WhoFi account, you should see a community calendar dropdown. If you do not, please let us know. We'd be happy to help. And under the community calendar, you'll have four options. The calendar is where you're able to create your programs. The archive is where you're able to see a list view of the community calendar and add your attendance in a list view. Registration will be your hub of any programs that are receiving registration, and reports is a easy report on demand area. So if we open up the calendar in here, let's add our first event together. There's already plenty of events aren't here. So let's say on Friday, we are hosting a book club. So we clicked on Friday to create the program. And in the event title, we'll call it book club. And this first menu is all that's required in order to save the program to your calendar. You'll have the ability to adjust the start time and end time. If this is a reoccurring program, you're welcome to make that reoccurring with those options. And you'll see these three fields down here, type, age, and site. These are provided so that we can organize the information into your question sets, into the right areas for synchronous, asynchronous, on-site, off-site, all of those different questions from the state survey. So in here, we'll be able to answer for in-person, live virtual, combo programs, and even content recordings. The age dropdown will follow those similar guidelines that are on the state annual survey, as well as the site. And then we can save this program, and boom, bam, now it is saved onto your calendar. So let's say the program is now over. How do we add the attendance for this program? There are two different ways that we can add the attendance, and I'll show you both of them there's different use cases. If we open up the book club and go to extra details, there is a field here for attendance. And here is where you're able to type in the total number of attendance. If there's ever a program that you had and sadly nobody attended, you're welcome to confirm 0 attendees right here, and it'll help in the upcoming area that I'll show you. So let's go ahead and save those 6 people in attendance. The second way that you can add attendance is under the archive. Here in the archive, we are able to see a list view of all of the programs during the current timeline. So we will scroll down and find our book club. Here we are. And we'll see that 6 that I typed on the calendar is saved here as well. But let's say I want to update that to a 7. You'll update that to 7 and hit update. So those are the two different ways that you can add your attendance. If you're adding the attendance maybe at the end of the week and you want to add a batch attendance, you can just go down the list and add all of your attendance for those programs. So what does reporting look like for the community calendar? I've got 3 different reports that I can show you. Under the community calendar, we will open up reports, and this will be a on-demand report of all of your programs. We will see it broken out by different age groupings, and down at the bottom will be our totals for all of your programs and for the different attendance. This report is downloadable, and you're also welcome to turn on our summer reading report. If you flag your event as summer reading under extra details, the programs will then show up down here, and those are very helpful to answer any summer reading surveys that you're receiving for your library to answer. Our next reports are under monthly reports over here on the left. So down here, we will see a handful of options. We will have the folder for calendar reports, and you'll see that you get a handful of reports that are generated for you at the beginning of every month. And we'll see right here that they are the date that they are generated. The reason I'm pointing this out is because if there's any changes that you make into your WhoFi account after the date that that this report was generated, then your changes won't be reflected. And we will need to rerun the report up here at the top. And you're welcome to rerun those whenever you need. So let's take a look at some of these reports. The community calendar board report will be a slick infographic for you to take to any of your board meetings. I'll zoom in here for the sake of the webinar. We will see month-to-month comparisons of your statistics, the raw data over here on the left, and your attendance, as well as corresponding pie charts that you can take to any of your meetings. And down at the bottom will be the year in review so far. So you can take, I keep saying this, you can take it to any of your meetings, and it will be a nice way to not have to stare at Excel spreadsheets. You can look at this infographic instead. But if you are a statistics lover like myself, the director's report might be for you. If we open up the director's report, we will get a Excel document with lots and lots of comparisons. Over here at the top, it will start with data for the most recent month, and then you'll get a prior month comparison. And over here on the left, we'll see that the information alternates between age and type over and over again. So you always get those comparisons. We will also see a same month prior year comparison and a year to date comparison. And these are all helpful so that your library can see historically how the programs are performing. And you can use this to advocate for your library in the community. Down here, this bottom section will be the year in review, all of your programs as a whole. This used to be the golden area for answering the information on your state annual survey. However, now that the data syncs into question sets, libraries are referencing question sets instead of this chart. So once we get your question sets built and syncing the data, then you won't have to reference this chart for answering your state annual survey. But you're still welcome to use it if you'd like. So those are all the reports for the community calendar. Once we had launched the community calendar for libraries to utilize and get it added into the website, libraries then asked for the ability to accept registration from their programs. I'm not going to do a deep dive into registration because there's quite a few different combinations. There's regular registration. WhoFi offers time slot registration for programs such as reading to a dog. The patron would be able to select a window of time to go in and read to the dog for therapy. There are series registrations. If your library has a program where you would like them to fill out one form for multiple days, then they'd be able to submit a form such as that. And there's one more. Oh, we call it per attendee. We had heard from some children's departments that they wanted to, instead of just have, I'll outline the scenario. The libraries had told us that there were some parents who were filling out their registration form and they were saying that they were bringing 3 people, but they weren't getting the names or the information for the other 2 people. And the libraries loves to create name tags and personalize the information for the children who were attending the guardian. So that's one scenario for adding per attendee to your registration. We have all of those examples on YouTube if you are interested in seeing those. We can even do a deep dive after the webinar. But if I started right now, it would take way too long. So I'd be happy to explain those to you guys on a different call. So regular registration, what does this look like? Under the community calendar, we will open up our registration hub. In here, you will have the options to add an organizer and add a form. Adding an organizer will allow you to assign an organizer of the program to the program. That organizer has the ability to sign up to receive updates about the program's registration list. It'll be a daily email in case there were any updates. And the organizer will also be presented on the patron-facing side as a point of contact. So let me show you an example of what the integrated calendar looks like so we can really wrap our heads around some of these settings. So I'm going to show Nevada Public Library. It is pronounced Nevada. I've been told incorrectly sometimes to not call it Nevada. And on their website, we will see a few different areas where they have integrated WhoFi onto their website. Over here on the left is a featured widget that you can add to your homepage. It will show the next upcoming 5 programs happening at the library. And down at the bottom is a button for seeing the full calendar. They're welcome to click on that or to click on a program, and it will take them to the program's event page. In here, we will see that organizer over here on the right, as well as the library's address. If it's ever an off-site program, you can override the address that's over here. And we'll see all the other details about this program in here. On the left, we can choose to search for events, and your patrons will be able to peruse all of the programs happening in this card view format. as well as use these filters over here to find any programs that are pertinent to their interests. Now, I will go back to the Nevada's website so I can show you the calendar that they have integrated. Up here at the top, they chose to add it to this web page. And this is what the integrated calendar looks like. Your library will still get the traffic for embedding the calendar onto here. And if we choose to click on a program, we will see some brief information about the program, and they can click on more details if they want to see even more about the program. Now, if the program had registration, it makes it really obvious. I can't remember. Oh, Steam Lab. Here we go. I don't know why I have this calendar memorized, but I do. Under Steam Lab, we'll see over here a big button for Register Now. If we click on More Details or Register Now, it'll take us to the registration page. And down here at the bottom, this is an example of our series registration. This is a little bit more advanced than the regular registration. So the patron will have the ability to fill out the form as well as any other custom questions that you want to add to the form. And in this series registration, the patron has the ability to say, yeah, I'll also come on September 11th and September 4th. So that is an example of registration. Once the patron registers, they're going to receive a copy of the information in their inbox, letting them know if they're on the list or if they need to go on to the wait list. The patrons will also receive a reminder email about the programs they registered for 24 hours before the program happens to help increase your guys' attendance rates. In either of those emails, patrons are able to edit their submitted information or cancel their registration from those events, or sorry, from those emails. So that's an example of the integrated calendar and some of the registration. So hopefully that lends itself into understanding the adding organizer button. And under Add Form, this is where you're able to create your registration form. You're able to decide which questions will be required, and you can add additional questions. I believe that happens after this next menu. You click on Add. So once you've created your registration form and you've added all the elements that you want to collect from your patrons, how do we enable registration for a program? If we go back into the calendar and open back up my book club, we will see a tab up here for registration. Under registration, we will have a option to add an organizer as well as adding the registration form. By default, your programs will have registration turned off until you assign a form, and then you'll get some extra fields. The most important ones to point out will be total available seats for the cap of how many people can register, your maximum waitlist seats, and the fact that you can turn off the waitlist if you don't want one. And down here will be the email message. After the patrons register, if you want to add anything into the email, you are welcome to add additional information here, such as a Zoom link or even further instructions that you only want for people who have registered. The rest of these fields can be covered on our tutorial videos. If you go over here under Help, there's a list of our tutorials, and here's one for patron registration, and that one should cover a lot of the other fields if you're interested in diving more into registration. If we look at the website tab, we will see all of the fields necessary in order to edit the program for the website. Here's where you're able to type in the event's description, add an image, or even an attachment. If you have a waiver or crafting instructions, you can add that there. Awesome. Anything else high level that I need to cover under community calendar? Oh, here, I have an example of a time slot registration right here in case you're curious to look at it. Oh,
Stacy
it's
also
closed.
has a question.
Okay, I will take it after I find an
Okay.
uploaded one. Here we go. So here's a time slot registration. The patron would be able to fill in their information and pick a window of time for them to show up. That's just an example of time slot. What is Stacy's question?
Yes. Can you elaborate on the single person registration and what does full capacity a time slot mean?
Full capacity time slot. Yeah, great question. There is regular time slots right here that we're looking at where once this person registers, here, yeah, this is a testing account, so I can go ahead and register. I'm not going to accidentally register for a real library. We'll see up here that this registration has a maximum of 2 attendees per registration. However, in the default version of time slots, if we only type in 1 and register, that window of time will not be open for anybody else to join. So the field that we saw earlier about full capacity time slot, no, that's not the one that you asked about. You asked about, I'm going to open the chat.
That is the one.
That is the one? Okay,
Yes.
great, great. Okay, great. Then yeah, full
Sorry.
capacity time slot will be what we kind of call like version 2 of time slots. This will allow other people to join that window of time. So if it has a maximum of 2 people and only one person took it, then full capacity time slot will allow a second person to join that window of time. We can dive into that more if you want to on like a separate phone call if that doesn't help. But does that help for now? Okay, great. Thank you, Stacy. Awesome. So any other questions before we transition into spaces?
That was all that I saw in the
Okay,
chat, so I think we are good to go.
wonderful. All right. All right, 11:40. I got 20 more minutes. When you guys had registered, I heard that spaces was almost equally in importance for you guys to learn more about in comparison to question sets. Those were the top 2 items. So I kind of wanted to breeze through the calendar real fast. So spaces, formerly known as meeting rooms, helps to reduce the burden on staff having to manage multiple rooms and schedules and emails and paper forms and phone calls, all about availability, and that can now all be automated. It might make more sense if I go ahead and show you at Nevada Public Library one more time. Nevada Public Library chose to add a big button right down here to book a space. So let's take a look at the patron experience, and that will help explain some of the settings for the creating a space. So if we click here to book a space, the patron will be taken to this menu of all of these spaces that the library has deemed publicly available. And up here at the top, the patrons are able to use the filters to find a space that is appropriate for their needs. And as we scroll, the patrons are able to see the at a glance availability for the rooms or the spaces at the library. The patron can hover over and read any of the amenities that are available at the library, as well as any other further information for this room before they request it. So we will see at a glance that there are some unavailable times for this room, and if we choose to request this space, we will be taken to this menu where we are able, as the patron, to select the amount of time to request to use the room. So if we click on each box represents 30 minutes. So if we click on 2 green boxes, we will see that this updates down here. And if we click on next, don't worry, I'm not going to really submit it. Down here at the bottom, we will see Nevada's custom form that they have created. You'll have your default 4 questions as well as any other additional questions that you want to add. And the patrons cannot submit their request without agreeing to your space policy. You're welcome to link it as an external link, just like Nevada just did, or you can type it out as text and it will pop up on the screen. Either way, they have to check this box before they can submit their request. After the request has been submitted, a few things are going to happen. Your staff internally are going to get a notification letting you know that a request was made through the website, and the patron will receive a email letting them know if they were automatically approved or if they are pending review for their space. Your staff will be able to vet the person based off of the information, maybe even give them some contact information or give them a call. And then your staff, whenever you're ready, are able to approve their space or decline it for whatever reason you have chosen. So the patron will also receive a reminder email of any approved reservations 24 hours before they happen so that they don't turn into a no-show. We want them to show up and use your space. So hopefully that answers a few of the questions about what the patron experience looks like for renting a space in the library. What do creating those different spaces inside WhoFi look like? So inside your account on the left-hand side, you should have a drop-down here for spaces. And let's start in spaces. Now, why are we saying spaces instead of rooms or conference rooms? Over time, libraries had let us know that there are, your programs, they have to happen somewhere. They might happen in a coffee table at the library, which isn't really a room, or a reading nook, or maybe even outside on the front lawn. And those aren't really rooms, they're spaces around the library that your library uses to meaningfully connect with your community. So we did a little rename change to help communicate that. Up here at the top, you can add a space, and I'm going to go ahead and edit one of the spaces that we were looking at earlier. So in here, there's quite a few settings. I might breeze through them, but again, there's a tutorial over here that'll walk you through how to add a space. So if you have any questions on the fields, let me know. Up here at the top, you can add an image for the space. We saw those beautiful images on the website, so you're welcome to stage your space in the most beautiful way to make that look really enticing. And here you're able to tell us how many seats you have, any amenities, and under the advanced settings is where you're able to control the space's availability. I mentioned earlier the ability to do auto approve versus manual approve. So if your space is a small study room, that might be auto approve. But if it's a large conference room, you can set it to manual approve and your staff would be able to approve them as needed. You're able to create the space's schedule here for the library's open hours or create a custom schedule if you only want morning appointments. You're welcome to create a custom schedule. And I mentioned earlier that it would only be displaying publicly available rooms. You are welcome to add spaces into WhoFi and make that an internal only schedule. You get to decide which rooms are available to the public and which ones are only internal. Now down here are the patron settings. We will see the tooltip info. That will be that little pop-up that we saw earlier about the information that was typed out. We will see a field for space instructions. This will be included in the booking confirmation email. Show up to the room, check in, we'll escort you, give you your key. You can type out all those instructions. And you get to pick between these two fields if you want to add a URL or type out your policy. And we saw that earlier. Down here are the space rules. Do not let me forget to cover those. We're going to come back to that in a second. And down here will be the booking form. This is where you're able to add custom fields as a text box for them to type in an answer, or you can provide options for them to pick from in a dropdown. That might be helpful if you're asking a question about their preferred layout of the room so that you can make sure that their room is assorted the way that they would request. All right, space rules. I didn't want to forget about that. That is one of our recent product updates. Libraries had requested a way for WhoFi to automate making sure that patrons were not monopolizing the space. So on the left, under Setup and Advanced, I do want to show this to you guys. It'll be exciting. Under Space Rules, here is where we were able to add a rule for that space. Some rules provided are cannot book beyond so many days from now. That way they're not looking too far in the future, and you have the option for days or months there. Cannot book for more than so many hours in a single booking. That way they're not taking the room for longer than the next patron would like to take it. Same email, cannot book more than so many times within a given time frame so that you can make sure that your power users are getting equal space. And then lastly, the booking must be made within so many days of advance. This helps your library plan for the space and make sure that you don't get bookings for today if you chose to do that. After you've created your rules, you would then use that dropdown that we saw earlier to apply the rules to that space. You're able to create different sets of rules for maybe study rooms or add another set of rules for your conference rooms. They might be a little bit different. So what does that internal schedule look like? Over here on the left, we have a handful of different options. We were just in spaces. This is where you're able to create those spaces. And up here at the top, we will open up bookings. There are a handful of different views that you have for your bookings. You have a day view, you've got a week view, you got a month view of all of your programs, but my preferred one is the list view. I like the list view because it provides all of your information in one list. You'll see your space on the left, the times, any transition times before and after, and you'll see where it was created on the calendar or was it a booking. So if a patron walked up and said, "Hey, you got any availability for a study room? Can I take it for today?" What you can do is you can look at your schedule and you can click on the space or we can choose to create a booking. Your staff is able to book the person right then and there if you desired for them to do so. We can choose the space here. We can fill out the patron's information. We can make sure that they are flagged as a patron for later reporting purposes. And then in here, you can type out how many people attended. So handful of different settings right there. And then here is where you'd be able to flag them as approved or pending. and their stage. Maybe they are checked in. So we'll go ahead and save that. It's going to ask me if I want to send an email over to the patron. This is up to you if you want to send it. I'm going to currently say no, I don't want an email. So now Ashley is on the schedule for that space. You can walk Ashley over to her space and give her her key and whatever else you need to do there. Awesome. Real quickly, bookings will be your schedule of all of your spaces. The archive will be a list view of all of your spaces. If you're ever looking for something, you can type in Ashley and you can find her real fast. That search option is also available in the list view. So if you're ever looking for something, you can type that in. What are the other options? Oh, pending will be a easy hub for you to find any of your pending bookings in the next year so that you don't miss any of those bookings. So whenever you get an email about a space being made from the website, you can come into spaces and go to pending and find it really fast. And then reports down here will be a report of all of your spaces and their use. It does default to external use only based off of library feedback. That was the desired report. You are always welcome to adjust your filters over here to include internal use if you desire. And my personal favorite, I like to turn on this setting because it's going to give me even more details than what it says. It says show booking details. So instead of just saying one booking, it's actually going to tell me who. It'll tell me the booking name and their organizer type. And this is downloadable and you can take it to, you can slice and dice it in Excel if you needed to. The other reports for spaces are over here under monthly reports. If we open up spaces, oh, there's none right there. I am missing some spaces reports. I will have to go find you some examples. Very similar to the community calendar, you'll have a director's spaces report, which will be a statistical view of your breakdowns for your different bookings. Maybe I can go find one real fast instead of just talking about it. Give me 1 second. All right, here would be yeah, so here would be the spaces board report that you can take to any of your meetings about your spaces. We will see, I'll zoom in. We will see a infographic for total bookings and your change from the prior month, your total attendance, your average attendance, and you've got like a breakdown of those different internal, patron, nonprofit, for-profit bookings. And you get some pie charts over here for your booking breakdowns, as well as a comparison for same month prior year. So that is the infographic, what we would call the space board report. You should have it in your account. I don't know why it was, I guess I didn't run it myself because it's a testing account. If I open up the director's report, we can take a look at that one real fast. Here we go. As time goes on, you will see all 12 months displayed up here at the top. You'll get your total bookings, your attendance, the similar statistics that we saw on the infographic, but you get some more comparisons down here for prior month compare, same month but the prior year, and year-to-date information in your director's report. So that's helpful to see historic trends and to ensure that you guys are hitting your goals. Great, great. Are there any questions on spaces? Anything else I need to cover before we look at any product updates?
Forgive me if I missed it because I'm answering questions over here. Did we go
Okay.
over how to assign a space to the event and then how the calendar and spaces sync?
Beautiful reminder. No, I didn't. That's a great question.
Okay,
Thank you for asking. So,
of
after
course.
you've created your spaces, how do we assign a space to the program to make sure that it's blocked off on your schedule and it will prevent patrons from requesting to use your space during those programs? So, if we go into the calendar, that's why it's so important for me to point this out. Thank you, Paige. If we open up your program, under extra details will be a drop down here for space, and you're welcome to choose the space that this program is happening in. And you're able to even allow some setup and transition times, kind of like a buffer before and after your program if you needed it. And this will default to internal use. So once we save that, it will add it to the program and also add it to our bookings calendar. We should see book club right there. Awesome. Great point. I'm glad we did not, I forgot. You didn't. So thank you. Awesome. Let's jump back into our slides. We covered the community calendar. We covered spaces. So up next, in case I missed it, these are all of the product updates that have kind of come out in the past few months. So we have had a few things come out. I have 8 minutes to get through this. we talked we talked about registration types, time slot series per attendee, and more. If you want some more information about that, feel free to throw your interest in the chat. We can send you some more information after the webinar. We talked about notifying organizers of the registration lists. There is a checkbox under registration to notify the organizer. There was a request from libraries to make sure that enough information was going to the organizer of the program, but not too many emails. You didn't want an email every single time something came through the website, so you get one email per day if you check that checkbox for your organizer. We do have the ability to automate your waitlist. So that is a setting found in your calendar settings. If you want to manually adjust your waitlists, go for it. But if you want WhoFi to automatically move anybody over from your waitlist in case somebody cancels, you do have that ability to turn that on, and WhoFi will automate that for you and send information to the patrons who are automatically moved over. We do offer RSS and JSON feeds, and that's not an extra cost. We just turn that on for you guys. And what my libraries do is they will copy that RSS or JSON or even an iCal feed. We do have that one as well. And you can add that feed into your newsletters, which will help automatically populate your programs into your e-newsletters or onto maybe even a Google Calendar. If you had your staff all looking at a Google Calendar, you can use those feeds for various different reasons. We do offer kiosk mode for spaces. If your library had ever wished that you had the schedule of the room right in front of the room, whether that is on a tablet or an iPad, or if you just wanted to provide a QR code for the patron to scan and look at the schedule for the room, we do offer kiosk mode for those different spaces. It's just a simple URL that you can host onto a tablet for the patrons to look at, make sure they're in the right space for wherever they're going to, or they could even request to use the space from that interaction as a QR code or on that tablet. So if you're interested in that, let us know. We did recently launch the ability to add WhoFi to your Google Analytics account. If you already have a Google Analytics account, or if you don't, there is a blog post that we can share with you if you're interested in getting insights into how popular your different programs or your different spaces are. So your Google Analytics hub would be able to provide insights into what pages of WhoFi.com are most popular for your patrons to interact with. And I think this is the last one on this slide. We went through monthly board reporting. I have a tendency to forget that. So if you're looking for more information about monthly board reporting, or if you want to do some custom reports, let us know and I can show you how to use the archive for that. So in our last 5 minutes, we can go over some upcoming pilots in case you're interested in some new things that WhoFi is working on. Let's see what's in here. Program draft mode was a request from libraries to be able to draft their programs, but maybe they don't go live quite just yet. And they wanted kind of a process to approve the programs as a way for multiple staff members to kind of create the programs and have maybe a marketing or a director person to approve the programs for them to go live. So program draft mode is a new thing that we are working on right now. Museum Passes was a request from libraries. They came from libraries on the East Coast, but it's applicable for any libraries who are circulating museum passes. They wanted an all-in-one spot for the staff to be able to log in and look at pass reservations and automate being able to accept pass reservations from patrons. So that is currently in a pilot mode. I have a handful of libraries who are piloting that for us right now. If you're interested in seeing a demo of it, I'd be happy to show you. Makerspace/stationary equipment bookings was something that came out a few months ago, but we're still interested in getting library feedback on it. If your library has a 3D printer or a Cricut or any sort of Makerspace stationary things where you want them to come to the library and utilize that space, but you don't want them to leave with that item, Makerspaces will be a very effective way for them to see the availability of that Makerspace and schedule time to use that. So we'd be happy to show that to you as well if that's applicable for your library. Spaces payments is a request from libraries to be able to accept payments or forms of payments from patrons whenever they request to use the spaces of your libraries. We are working on a way to automate that for you guys. So if you're interested in sharing with us your current experience with payments, we'd be happy to hear your feedback so that we build that out in the most appropriate manner. We saw maybe a tab for movable equipment earlier during the demo. We had heard from libraries that there was a challenge of making sure that the correct equipment was in a room for a program or for a booking. And because it moves around, like maybe a laptop cart or a coffee machine, making sure that that movable equipment is in the right space at the right time. So we're trying to learn a little bit more about that challenge. We have a very basic version available, but the main request that we're hearing from libraries is the ability for patrons to add their requests of the coffee cart or something like that to their booking. So that's something that we're working on. And I think that's the last one. Community Connectors will be an upcoming online site for libraries who have a WhoFi account or don't will be able to come to one website and be able to see more detailed tutorials of WhoFi, be able to read blog posts and answer other library questions and really collaborate on what it means to be a leader in your community. So community connectors will seek to kind of unify you guys in that area. Awesome. 2 minutes left. Phew. Those are all of the product updates and pilots that are happening right now. If you're interested in any of those, please feel free to reach out. You can put your interest in the chat or you can email us afterwards. Paige, if you can throw like the support email or my email or your email in the chat, whichever one you prefer, we'd be happy to hear your guys' interest and your feedback. If there was anything that we did not get to cover that you were hoping to learn about in this webinar, please reach out. I'd be happy to do a one-on-one phone call and learn more about your library's challenges and see how WhoFi can help ease those burdens for you guys. Are there any other questions that I need to answer before I let you guys go? You guys have been wonderful. That is everything that I have planned to show you guys today, so I will let you guys go.